Well, apparently, Joe Biden has thrown a massive White House temper tantrum over recent polling. I'm guessing his advisors went to him, showed him what's going on with the polling numbers, the approval rating. This was all stuff that I talked about yesterday, how the math is completely different going into 2024 than it was in 2020. Not just focusing on the swing states and the improved numbers we've seen Trump have out of states like Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, of course, with Florida and Ohio now purely right wing states, but also with just the general popularity Biden versus Trump. Trump surprisingly having a better approval rating and really maintaining a better approval rating than Biden recently. Seems like Biden finally realizing it and is completely melting down. President Joe Biden's temper out of control over all-time low poll numbers. Inside reports claim that U.S. President Biden is angry and anxious over dipping poll numbers. Of course he is. And yes, the State of the Union, which I guess they thought were going to boost Biden. To be fair, it's kind of hard to be worse than where Biden was. He was already historically unliked, and the State of the Union really didn't do anything positive or negative for Biden. You've got Democrats coming out saying Biden was fiery, he looked good. Of course, Republicans are going to hate the State of the Union. The State of the Union nowadays is just a propaganda hour-long monologue that's really just meant to try and help whoever is in office tout their accomplishments, and Biden comes out and does just that. He always comes off very angry. I speculate they have to hop him up on a significant amount of drugs, and one of the side effects is he's gonna be more angry and antsy, and he just comes off really bad. So Biden, the State of the Union doesn't help him at all. He's realizing via these poll numbers that it's really not looking good in 2024. And then people wonder, well, why wouldn't they just move on from Biden? I was thinking about this earlier. Biden is the ultimate double negative. He's extremely unlikable, and Americans are questioning his competency over the next 4 years, if he can even make it that long and still be a viable president. People right now don't think he's viable, considering the amount of hiding they're doing for Biden. And you would think, well, why don't they just move on from him? Put in Gavin Newsom, do something like that. The issue comes down to optics with Kamala Harris being the VP, when we all know even Democrats can admit back in 2020 when they vehemently rejected Kamala Harris. She had that embarrassing debate performance. The only reason she became VP was because she was a minority female. That's just the reality of the way these people operate. If you're going to go with an old white dude who's been in politics for 5 decades like Biden, you have to choose a minority female in the year 2020, and that's exactly what they did. She was not qualified. She never should have been the VP, but now the Democrats are in between a rock and a hard place to where sure, you can remove Biden, and we would all understand it. I mean, we would say, of course, the reason they're removing him is because his approval rating is ridiculously low. But if they use the excuse, he's just not capable at this point, he's too old, everyone would be like, well, no, duh. But the reason they can't do that is because Harris would be installed, you would think, unless they somehow pass her by, which would be seen as horrible optics for the Democrats, based on the fact that Harris is a minority woman, and it would not be a good look bypassing her for someone like Gavin Newsom when she's been the VP for 3+ years now is not good. And if I was a Democratic strategist and you said it's either Biden or Harris, I would choose to roll with Biden, because at least with Biden you get the incumbent advantage, and he's already been president. It's just Harris is so unlikable. She's got the same disapproval ratings as Biden does, and she hasn't even been the president. Imagine if she became the president, it would probably even be worse. That's just the way it goes. The president is more polarizing than the VP. In late January, before the State of the Union speech, Biden was going head-to-head with Trump, as the polls registered his numbers at 44% against Trump 45%. Yeah, that's not really telling the full story. That's a massive positive for Trump. Trump being +1 in just the general popular vote is so huge, considering in 2020 he was down by 7, and normally these general election polls vastly overestimate Democrats. Not to mention Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 by 3 and still easily won the election, basically sweeping the swing states. The most recent one was taken from March 8th through 11th. This is a little while ago. It's about 2 weeks ago now. Has shown, looks like a virtual tie with Trump at 46%, Biden at 44%. However, the same poll displayed concerning numbers right before and after the address, with approval rating going down. I mean, these numbers they're fluctuating by 1 or 2%. It doesn't have to do with Biden tanking the State of the Union. His numbers stagnated. The issue is they were horrible before the State of the Union. So the fact that his numbers haven't moved, I'm not sure what this paragraph is trying to insinuate. This is just more of a problem that's been going on really for about 8 straight months now, where Biden's approval rating has stagnated around 40%. Biden has become cursing mad over his polling numbers. He's having meltdowns with his advisors. It's getting really ugly, and this isn't surprising at all considering how bad the numbers actually are, and we would only assume that this would get worse and worse and worse, even with Biden's big advantage in terms of the amount of donations he has. It's kind of funny, more hypocrisy from these people. I mean, how many times do we have to hear the liberals hate millionaires, they hate billionaires, they should be taxed at 100% rates, then they get all the money from them, and Biden raises so much more, and we get jammed down our throats, all these Biden campaign ads, but we can tell independents are not buying it, even with Biden having a huge advantage in terms of donors. It doesn't seem to matter. Independents aren't buying it. It's just like the whole Trump coming out and them twisting his words with the bloodbath comment. Nobody really cares anymore. CNN can scream from the rooftops that Trump's a fascist, fascist, fascist. You're talking to nobody. You've been completely discredited. The only people that are going to listen are already voting for Democrats. You're not going to swing any independents with that type of rhetoric. So this is huge stuff when it comes to Biden. He's coming out now and he's pissed, and he's finally realizing it's not going to happen in 2024. He's seething right now, and he's understanding that, well, listen, going into the 2020 election, I had a significant advantage in terms of how popular I was versus Trump. About 13-point difference between us. Now I'm -3. It's a 15 to 16-point swing. It is not going to end well. And I think, his people are telling him, look, we've got to do something here. But really, what can they do? They've boxed themselves into a corner. The only thing they can do, I guess, is fearmonger. Say Trump is going to start World War III, even though he was already in office for 4 years and nothing happened. And we actually had a lot more peace under Trump within the world. 2 major wars starting under Biden. It's all crap. They have no argument. I think that's the only thing they can argue has to do with January 6th. Talk about how Trump's going to remain in power after his 4 years are up. It's all based on complete hypotheticals, and there's no actual substance for Biden to prove that he should remain in the White House, because even if you want to argue that the Biden administration has done good, nobody really believes that Biden is behind any of this. He can barely talk for 2 straight minutes without messing up. How can he really lead a country? It's all so ridiculous. So even if they wanted to argue that, Biden's done all these great things, which, by the way, is all opinion-based. If you're a Democrat, of course you're going to think Biden does well. If you're a Republican, you're going to hate him. But the gist of it is Biden is so... He suffered such a cognitive decline, nobody believes that he's really done anything. So the entire argument has to be against Trump, and it's all based on voting against Trump in fear and not voting for Biden based on what he's done. That's the entire argument that will be used when it comes to it. But yeah, this is some crazy stuff with Biden coming out and realizing it's not looking good. He's getting pissed off. He's having meltdowns in the White House at this point. And I'm guessing these are only going to continue. It's only going to get worse. This is what I said would happen. They're starting to freak out. They're waking up. They're looking at the map. And it is telling a completely different story. And this is why I would expect to see more and more of these type of stories lashing out, melting down over how the electoral map looks, over where the nation is going. The name calling, racist, fascist, transphobe, here it comes, get ready for it. And these are all great signs that Trump will very likely win in 2024. They have to lash out and call everyone racist because they have no political argument on why Biden is better than Trump. And even if they wanted to argue something politically, nobody believes that Biden is actually implementing any of these policies due to his cognitive decline. So it's very hard for someone to really convince independent people that Biden should be the president. I saw a poll yesterday. Independents, if they had to vote for Trump or Biden, it was Trump plus 20. That's how much he was leading it by. So independents are just going to Trump in droves at this point. And another thing I saw when it came to the Florida registration, I mean, I think conservatives now plus 500K, as opposed to in 2012, it was Democrats plus 500K registered Democrats. Now it's plus 500,000 registered conservatives. That's a swing of 1 million people now that are more conservative. And that's why that state has really swung to the right. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.